This is the FitRoots podcast, and I'm your host, Aidan Lee. We are focused on teaching you the best of philosophy, martial arts, health, well-being, and business. Our mission is to build modern warriors who enhance their lives through continual physical and mental evolution, and then bestow that gift onto the next generation. Today, we've got Pete Cohen joining us. Pete Cohen is one of the world's leading keynote speakers. Hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world have been motivated and inspired by Pete's presentations. The measure of success as a keynote speaker is not just relevance, but impact. And not just the immediate impact on the day, but the lasting impact of the days, weeks, and even years afterwards. It's all about leaving an imprint and resonating with your entire audience. You create a buzz, people have had fun, they're inspired by fresh insights and new interactions, and they can't wait to try them out for themselves. He's been dedicated to supporting organizations and the people within them to flourish for over 25 years. As a professional keynote speaker and coach, he knows exactly what holds people back. Pete offers quick, powerful interventions that can be easily applied and make a significant difference immediately. He always finds it a pleasure to come into an organization and share his experiences, learn from keynote presentations with top companies throughout the world. Pete excels at keynote presentations and inspires his audiences to think outside the box, believe in themselves, and get motivated to take positive actions. He's worked with companies such as IBM, Boots, Pfizer, Robert Half International, BAA, Royal Bank of Scotland, Boehringer Ingelheim, and Thomas Cook. Pete's interactive style is fun, thought-provoking, and leaves a lasting impression. He has professionally impacted the lives of thousands of people worldwide, including business execs, professional athletes, and the everyday person. He focuses on the importance of having a strong belief in yourself. He teaches that you need to be positive and you have to develop self-confidence to achieve your potential and be successful. He is the author of 17 published books, several of which have been bestsellers across the world, including Shut the Duck Up, Habit Busting, Life DIY, and Sort Your Life Out. He has also presented his own TV show on TV called The Coach and was the resident life coach on GMTV for 12 years. Pete's background is in psychology and sports science. He specializes in taking self-help and personal development to the masses in a way that is easy for people to understand and apply. Working in sports performance coaching, Pete has helped world-class sporting stars and teams reach their peak performance, including Sally Gunnell, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Ellen MacArthur, Roger Black, the Kent cricket team, and the Arsenal football team. Welcome to the FitRoots podcast, Pete.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Good to see you.
Likewise, honestly, it's such a pleasure having you on today, Pete, and I know there's going to be some pearls and gems of wisdom that you'll share with our audience today. We've obviously heard your bio by this point, but please share with us, how you got to where you are now. You've accomplished so much, but please tell us the journey from, if you like, your childhood and how you got to where you are now.
Wow, that's a big question, right? It's a story in itself. It's funny because when people ask me about what I've done, in my mind, the first thing I want to say is what I've done isn't important. It's what I'm going to do. But I'm sure we'll probably touch on that. I suppose my story is like most people or lots of people. I was driven by fear. I was driven by insecurity to prove to the world that I was somebody because I didn't feel that great about myself. So I've always been very driven to prove to the world I'm somebody. But I'm very fortunate in the area that I tried to prove myself. I was actually helping quite a lot of people along the way. So my background, like you, was fitness and health. I studied sports science, which is pretty crazy that I actually ended up in university because I have one GCSE, I have no A-levels, I have written 18 books. A number of those books are best-selling books around the world. But I love helping people, and now I'm more driven than ever, not to prove myself. I don't feel I have anything to prove anymore. I'm more on a massive mission, just like yourself, to inspire people to be healthy, to be happy, to be productive. And, it's a cliche, but I mean it, for people just to be the very, very best that they can be.
Awesome. And as you've said there, I think it's great. You've achieved so much, but eventually I'm not at that stage yet, but maybe you reach a point where you say, right, what can I do instead? What impact can I create? What was that trigger for you? When did you say to yourself, okay, I've achieved enough. It's not just about me anymore. It's about everyone else and what I can do for them.
It's, again, a good question. And it's like, well, how do you answer a question like that? I suppose the first thing that comes to my mind is just realizing that I didn't really actually have to do that much to help people. All I really had to do was be better myself. And I really realize that now. If I'm good, if I'm healthy, if I'm happy, if my mind is engaged with what I'm doing, where I'm going, it inspires people around me. And I realize that now more than ever. You know, one of the things that we say in our company is we say, we believe that your future is not written and you have the power to change. And even if you did believe your future was written, would you want to read it? Most people would say no, they wouldn't want to read it. And do you believe that you have power? Again, not everyone believes that, but I think most people do, and they need help. And there's nothing better than being a part of that journey to help people, just like, you know, your whole thing is all about helping people find their mission and connecting to it. And, you know, it's like, do we all have a unique mission or a unique message? I'd say yes, most definitely. And often you need a coach or a group of like-minded people around you who can help you tap into the essence of who you are and help you go to work on making this world a better place, because the world is doomed unless more and more people come together and go, hey, you know what, Aidan, how can I help you? What is it that you're doing right now? Is there any way that I can assist you in bringing what you're doing to life? And you might ask me the same. In fact, that's what you asked me just even before we went on air. You know, is there anything I can do to help you? You know, and that's what the world needs. And I'm more fired up about doing that than I ever have been in my entire life.
That's inspiring, and I really love it. And I think, as you say, it's bringing out the essence and the most valuable parts of people to fulfill their biggest potential. So I know you're big on coaching, Pete, and that's what you and I as well really feel that will bring out that potential in people. But can you share the value of coaching for maybe people who don't really know about it, or even those who have had some but maybe haven't had a suboptimal experience? You know, what can the best coaching bring out in people?
Well, I was very fortunate. So in my 20s, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, diagnosed with ME, and I was really not in a very good way. And I was looking for answers. I was looking for someone to give me a label and tell me, this is what's wrong with you. And even though I got a few labels, it didn't make me better. And almost as a last resort, I tried Tai Chi and Qigongs with a really good teacher in London. And I enjoyed it. It was out in the parks. I've always been into Chinese medicine. I've always been into martial arts. And, you know, one of my heroes as a child, like for so many people, was Bruce Lee, seeing Enter the Dragon when I was a young boy. And the impression that had on me of someone, just a man who could use this power to fight hundreds of people and fight for something. You know, you've offended my family, you have offended the Shaolin Temple, and now I will kill you. You know, fighting for honor and fighting for a better world where it's just not about you. It's more than you. But the guy who was teaching me, he said, look, you should come and meet this guy. It's funny because I'm just looking at a picture of him over here. He said, this guy is my coach, and he's over from Dallas, Texas. Would you like to come and meet him? So I just said, yeah, absolutely. And I remember the day I went to meet him. He was staying in Peckham, of all places. And I sat down, and this little Filipino man came out and just started talking, and I listening. And the next thing I know, I'd agreed to go on a workshop with him with a few people in Ireland. And over how many years of my life? 16 years of my life, maybe more. I think maybe more than 16. He was my coach. He helped me make millions. I sold a business in 2003 for 2.4 million. I don't think I ever would have done that without a coach, which is good. I traveled all around the world. I've traveled in China with him. I've traveled in all over America, Spain, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and I learned so much from him. And what he taught me, I'm really passing that on. He's not alive anymore. He died I think he was about 79. And he saved my wife's life. My wife was diagnosed with a brain tumor and given 18 months to live. And, you know, I called him up. He was in Dallas, and I asked him, what should I do? He said, find people that are still alive and find out why. You know, and then he also said, what is she going to do when she gets better? And I said, but she's been given 18 months to live. And he went, so what? People defy the odds all the time. You defied the odds in being born. All of your listeners defied the odds in being. Statistically, the chances of us all being born are ridiculous. So you asked me, what's the benefits of coaching? Well, you probably won't find too many people on earth that will tell you coaching made me millions. Coaching helped save my wife's life, because I did find people that are still alive, and we went to America where she was treated, and she's alive and well, and we're married now. But I was going to say much more than that. Okay, so much more than that, because he passed on all of this wisdom to me. And some of that is in words, some of that is in, I don't even know so much when someone shares something with you. So when I work with people, it's not just me. They're getting to work with him and my experience. And so I think, coaching, everybody needs somebody, and there's no better person to help you than someone who is not necessarily attached to your life or has a vested interest in exactly what you do. They're just looking out for you, and the word coach comes from a coach and horses, and a coach and horses is, well, this is where you are. Where do you want to go? Let's help you get to where you want to. You want to try and do it on your own? Good luck, my friend. But you don't have to do anything on your own. There are three things that we're all told when we're growing up that mess all of us up. Don't talk to strangers, money doesn't grow on trees, and don't copy. And if you think about it, part of the reason people need coaching is to undo some of the domestication that we've all experienced. Don't talk to strangers. What does that mean? Most of us won't talk to someone now, even though we're in our 30s and 40s or 50s or however old we are, because we've been told don't talk to strangers. We've been told money doesn't grow on trees, so that's why often people have a problem with money, which is often to do with self-worth. And then we're also told don't copy. At school, don't copy him. Listen, success is not that hard to find. Find the right people, ask the right questions, and anything in life is possible. So I believe everybody needs coaching in some way, shape, or form to help them bring out the best of themselves. So that was a long-winded answer, but I hope it kind of answers your question.
Definitely does. A powerful answer, nevertheless, as well, which I was super happy to just listen to and absorb and learn from. And I would completely agree, because the coaches I've had, whether it be my martial arts masters, my philosophy professors, and various other people in business as well now, they've all served as a conduit. As you say, almost nothing is really new under the sun. It's just, all right, who else has got that success, and why have they got it and why haven't I? And one of the biggest things I learned from philosophy, similarly to which is what you're echoing as well, the same sentiment, is don't tell people necessarily what to think, but teach them how to think. And as you say, there's a lot of undoing from our first 8 years in life, whatever it might be, that we really need to undo. But you had so many powerful stories there. It's almost like thinking which one to pick up, but one that really sticks out, and almost for obvious reasons, is with your wife, and how your coach really helped you through that. Because it almost sounds like without him, you would have not been. Not been here.
She wouldn't be here. I might not even. Well, I think I would still be here. But I mean, when I was really sick myself, there were times where, anyone who's had any like serious full-on ME or chronic fatigue, they know what that's like. And for me, it went on for about 10 years. And there were days I had to move back to my parents' house. And I actually even said to my mum a few times, you know what, I just want to go to sleep and I don't want to wake up. But, that was a feeling which didn't last. And, the next day, just like most people, I would find the strength, to carry on. But I think, again, just like yourself and anyone who's fortunate enough to work with you is really onto a good thing, because you're only interested in one thing, and that's helping people find out their path and getting people to be really aligning themselves to being healthy and being well, and supporting someone through that process, because everybody wants what we can help them get. Everyone wants it. If you could wave a magic wand and all of a sudden someone would be healthy, have more energy, be strong, everyone would want that. But when you were just talking before, the first thing that came into my head was psychological reactance, because you're right. No one wants to be told. And there's a rebel inside all of us that when you tell someone what to do, psychological reactance just comes to the fore. You could get people who like doing certain things that are good for them, and you tell them to start doing it, the psychological reactance comes out. But when you can help people help themselves, that's beautiful, because they own it, you know, and that's what we want, right? For me personally, I don't want people to follow me. I don't mind them following me, but I don't want them to follow me to the point where they think I changed their life. I did not change your life. You did it. I was part of it. It was great. It was beautiful, but you did it. We really need to help people take ownership, because if they own it, they're much more likely to keep it rather than just throw it away. So
massive.
Yeah.
That's an important lesson. And it's kind of summed up for me in the whole lesson of, I can take the horse to water, but I can't force it to drink. And if, you know, they can do the work, because imagine we took on the workload of everyone we want to transform and change. We wouldn't be able to do it. It's impossible. And as you say,
you could take them to the water and you could force them to drink, you know, but then when you turned your back, they might not be drinking anymore.
Yeah.
Because maybe they think they should do it, or they have to do it. And, you know, it's a good metaphor.
I love the way you explain it. Thank you. And with that in mind, you know, you're all about how to be your best, Pete. You know, you're all about bringing out the best in people. How can we be our best version of ourselves?
I think that part of being the best version of yourself is to wake up. And this is one of the things I encourage people to do. And maybe all of your listeners can do this, is imagine being on a beach. It's just you, and you look out to sea, and you can see a bottle coming towards you. It's an empty bottle with a piece of paper in it, and it's got some cork on it. It gets closer and closer to you. You pick it up, you open it, and you take out the piece of paper. And on that piece of paper is your unique message. It's like, this is what you are here to do. And I love asking people to open it, because some people go, well, there's nothing there, because they don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, for years, I didn't know. But now I could tell you, I am here to inspire people to be the very best that they can be every single day. If you can help someone work out what they're here to do, or what makes them come alive the most, and even if that's something that they want to do professionally, or just something they want to do personally, then that's how people can really be their best. Know what they're good at. There's three questions that I love to ask, which is, what do you love to do? What are you good at? And what does the world need? Right? So, you know, what do I love to do? I love to do this. You know, this for me is a privilege to be speaking to you. I don't know who's listening, but you know what? Someone might, and it might make a difference. It's what I love to do. Get up in front of people and talk and share. What does the world need? The world needs more and more people like that can park their ego and just share some knowledge and inspiration. What am I good at? I'm pretty damn good at this. I've been doing it for a long time, you know? So when you can help someone to be their best, it's getting them to discover the nexus point between those three, and just be a part of their journey. You talk about coaching. There's another aspect to coaching, which is mentoring, you know, which I think they're quite similar things. I don't know whether you ever had a mentor, but my mentor is my best friend. You know, I met him when I was young. He's 7-8 years older than me. But just for someone I could look at and just say, wow, I admire you. I love the way you move through the world. And it almost gives you permission to do the same thing without anyone telling you. So
good. There's so much I want to pick out from that. So I'll try and pick out a few things before my mind explodes. But the one thing that really stuck out for me there was about a couple of questions, so I just don't forget. One is what's the difference between coaching and mentoring? And the second is, what's the value of asking the right questions? Because you touched on those three questions, which were really powerful. And I think if you can answer those, as you say, you can really find out.
Guess who that is calling me?
You tell me.
That's my mum calling me.
The most important one.
And I've just cut her off. I actually answered the phone, but you can actually tell that this is happening in real time. And my mum, turn my phone off. My mum is my hero. Oh. And my mum actually has just been through an absolutely terrible time. My father just passed away a couple of weeks ago, and well, you know, it's life. Just being there for my mum. And you just asked me a question, but let me just use this of my mum just calling me. it was very difficult as anyone that's watched, when you love something and you love someone and you watch it die in front of you, it's very, very difficult. But if you have, I don't know, beliefs that what happens after this is better, which is something I personally believe, even though my grandma said never talk about sex, money, religion, or politics. I just believe there's more to life than what I see, here. And my dad had passed away for about a week, and in the middle of the night, I had a dream that he was talking to me, and he said, "You need to read this book called The Fourth Agreement." And I'd kind of heard of this book. Anyway, I went downstairs in the morning, found an audio version of it, listened to the whole thing. And the fourth agreement is about 4 agreements in life. Nothing complicated. Never make assumptions. Always do your best. Always do what you say you're going to do, which is my dad in a nutshell. But at the end of the book, in answer to your question about how do you be your best, the author said this, and this is what I felt my dad was telling me. He said, "Do not be frightened of dying. Be frightened of having not lived your life." Now, I've lived my life pretty damn well, but I tell you what, I got a lot more living to do. And I am so, I'm so thankful for my dad that he almost has given me this message, which is don't waste time, enjoy your life as much as you can, and go and give your gifts and talents to the world like you never have done before. So in answer to the question, which was, how do you be your best? I mean, look, there's a few things, but finding out what you're here to do and looking to get better at that, I don't think there's many better things that any human being can do.
That's so beautiful. And no, thank you for taking that tangent, because 1, it's super important, and 2, it's even in such a circumstance, like really, sorry for your loss, and it's very hard to take something like that, but then to take the lessons that you obviously had a great father figure there for you to teach you, and then for you to now pass that on to the next generation.
And I think that's part of I really do believe that should be part of our purpose in life, is to pass on all the good stuff that has been given to you and give it to other people. And there was something else that you asked about, kind of what is it important, how to be your best. I think to find out what you stand for as a human being. So, finding out what you're here to do is one thing, and they kind of align, which is, what are your virtues? What are your values? Now, for someone like you that has studied philosophy, I don't know if you've studied ancient philosophy of the Greeks and the Romans, and this whole kind of thing, this inner daimon. The Greeks believed that you had this guiding light inside you. The Romans believed that everyone had a genius inside them, which was a guiding voice that would move you in the direction that you wanted to go. And a lot of those ancient virtues, I believe, stand true, even more true than ever to this day. But the work of a great psychologist, Martin Seligman, who's done a lot of work around happiness. I love his stuff around virtues, and you can go to his website. It's the Strength and Character Finder, and it takes about 20 minutes to go through all of these questions, and then it gives you your top virtues, your top values, and there's things like fairness, generosity, judgment, fun, curiosity, perspective. And I did this, and it didn't tell me anything I didn't know, but boy, was it nice to have the confirmation of that my values are fairness. If I see something that's not fair, I don't know what it does to me, but it brings out a strong part of me. The second is fun. The third is kindness. The fourth is creativity. The fifth is perspective. And the sixth is zest. It's just a great thing. I would encourage all of your listeners to listen, because once you find out what you stand for, if you stand for that every day, if you're lost or you're confused, you think, what do I really stand for? I will stand for fairness. Okay, we'll find a way to bring that to life even more. I think that's one of the greatest ways that human beings can develop their character.
Wow. Yeah, that's super fascinating. I've not heard of that. So I'm definitely going to go do that myself, and then I'll link it up there.
Let me know. Yeah, let me know what your top 6 are.
Yeah, I'll definitely will do. And
any of your listeners.
Yeah, I think that would be great if people could share. That would be an awesome way to help each other. And you touched on the ancients and the lessons today. And I think you're right. It's the fact that, really not much has changed under the sun. Those lessons are still so relevant, if not even more, because of the way we've dissociated ourselves with our true nature and sometimes reality. Before I forget, I want to touch on, you said about the difference between coaching and mentoring, and I'd love to hear, Pete, what is that difference between those two? And we talked about coaching, obviously, but then how has mentoring served you?
I'm not really sure of the etymology of what the difference in what they mean, but for me, even my coach didn't even like me calling him his coach. He just said, I'm just a friend. But I suppose a coach is someone who's going to ask you questions. And if you're being coached by someone, it's like, okay, well, what are we doing? This is where we are. Where do we want to go? I'm coaching you. So holding you accountable for that process and getting you to play at the edges of your comfort zone, because, that's where the growth happens, whether it's physical training or mental training. It's getting you to push and push and push. So you get stronger, you get better. Mentorship, I think, is a bit different in terms of, for me, my mentor, who I was with the other day, who was my best man at my wedding, who was always late for everything. He was even late from the wedding. He was someone who, I don't know, I just think he was a great example of living. And I don't know, no one's really ever asked me that before. I think also a mentor is someone who just wants to be there for you, who's not necessarily going to ask you anything. It's just they're going to be themselves and create the space for you to be yourself.
So is there something more personal about mentor, in the sense that it seems like that from the way you're describing it, they're a bit more close to your affairs and what's happening?
I don't know. I mean, what do you think? What do you think the difference is between a mentor and a coach?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think sometimes they're almost one of the same.
Could be both.
Yeah, I think that delineation you made about, right, we're here at A and we want to get to B, that does fit more of the coach, typical coach criteria. And I think mentoring is kind of what you said. It's something more, personal. They're there for you. That, like I said, they're not expecting anything. I mean, whether it's payment or it's something else, they're almost like that uncle or that male father figure or that male figure in society who just wants to see you do well, because they see potential in you and they feel like they can at least contribute to that and bring that out, even if very slightly. And
they'll be there for you no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're paying them or not, they're there because you have some intangible relationship, which is very heartfelt and deep.
Well, I also think you can have coaches and mentors of people that you don't know. I know lots of people, I'd say that, Bruce Lee is one of my mentors, I believe he's mentoring me. I don't know how to explain that. Michael Jordan most definitely has mentored me. It's not that I'm just a fan of him. It's almost like I've modeled him. You don't have to know these people. You can read about them. One of my heroes is Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. I never met him, but I listen to his audios and I feel like the guy is talking to me. But it's so important to plug into stuff that inspires you. That there's recently I've been working on something called gravity and levity, and finding the buoyancy between the two. So the gravity is about being grounded in something that is like in exercise, being grounded in meditation, being grounded in the moment. But levity is what is it that you're aspiring to, and having some buoyancy between the two, because otherwise you can be so goal orientated that your kind of feet are off the ground and you don't really enjoy what's going on, or you can have nothing that you're reaching for and you're just on the ground and you feel not quite complete. And that's another reason why I think coaching can be so powerful, to help people find joy in actually what they're doing. Otherwise, what's the point of achieving things if you don't enjoy it?
Yeah, massively. And that's a great analogy as well, because sometimes I've felt that myself too. You feel like you're shooting for the stars, but you're not enjoying the moment. And you think, what's the point? And touching on the mentors there, people who you don't have to know them personally. Like, I feel like this is like, you're coaching me and mentoring me, and right now on air, let alone the listeners and the people who are listening to this. And now, whether if we don't speak again, I'm sure that won't happen, but it's almost like, wow, that 1 hour or whatever it might be is so valuable that it can be learned from anywhere and any place. You don't have to just take it from someone you know directly or someone who's right in your physical vicinity.
Yeah, it's easy, and I appreciate that. Thank you. It's my privilege to be able to talk to you and share with you my experience, what I've learned along the way, because I have learned a lot and I have lived a life, and I just want to pass it on because I believe you make a difference, but you could make more of a difference. We can all make more of a difference. And yeah, it's just so important to surround yourself with minded people. And, I look at, if someone said to me, well, what is this worth? What you're sharing me, what is it worth? That's what my coach used to say. And there is no amount of money. This is priceless. If people go away and apply some of what we are sharing to them, what they could get out of it, if you try to put a figure on it, it's like, well, does that do it justice? It's like when someone says, what do you do for a living? And if you then try and explain, does that really explain what you do? No, the only way you can find out what you do is go and work with someone like you and then get to find out, wow, just how awesome life can be, how growth can be. There was a Hungarian Nobel Prize winner in 1937, and his discovery was something, he didn't discover it, was already there. It's called syntropy, which is a term used to describe every living cell that lives to express itself fully. It might not, because the acorn might get run over by a car, or a squirrel might eat the acorn, but it still exists to express itself fully. And so do we. The difference between us and acorns and cats, let's say, is the decisions that we make. We make decisions which allow us either to move forwards or, I don't know, die.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great story. And I truly believe that as well, that if you're not growing, you're not just staying where you are, you're actually dying. You're dying.
I think so. I might be wrong, and I'd be happy to be proved wrong, but I know where I'm going, and nothing is going to stop me from moving forwards, because my goal it's too big and it's too important. That's why I get up at 4:00 every single day and go to work on learning and growing, and just, that might be too much for people. And, it's like, that might not be for you, but that's definitely for me.
Yeah, because you want to make every moment the best it can be, and you want to bring out the best in yourselves and others.
Well, when you look at successful people, they often have mastered the mundane. There's that quote about Bruce Lee: don't fear the man who's, practiced to kick 10,000 times. Fear the man who's practiced the same kick 10,000 times, and mastery gets a bad press. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but when you look at people who are great at what they've done, they're always looking to master it. They're always learning. They always want to get better. And it's important that if you want to get better, is to get a coach like you or someone who's already down that road. Because if you decide to change your game and up your game, you will find naysayers. That's what Arnie used to say. You'll find people around you that go, what are you doing that for? Why are you doing that? And what happens is they just don't like the fact that you changing and reminding them of what they should be doing. Because every single one of us should be focusing on being better, physically, mentally, emotionally. That's where the greatest joy seems. From all I have ever known and experienced, the people who experience the greatest joy are the ones who work on themselves and then give it back. And you could look at someone like Bill Gates, the richest man in the world, and look what he's doing now. His foundation of just giving back. Get better and give it back. Pass it on, and you'll find fulfillment and joy like you've never experienced in your entire life. There's nothing better in life than giving and sharing.
Well, and it's so beautiful to see and witness in yourself and people like, referring to Bill Gates or whatever it might be. But there is also this flip side. What I feel maybe is a bit more in my generation nowadays that, I guess I'm in my mid-20s, but these people in my age, they almost want to change the world without changing themselves. And I feel like it's, hold on, wait, let me become the best version of myself. And in doing so, I will change the world and give back more as a result, rather than trying to change it from the outside in.
Well, it's absolutely true. There's a dark side in every single one of us. And that's why we love to go and watch films like Star Wars or Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or Alice in Wonderland or The Wizard of Oz. We see the good and bad that exists in every single person. And I like to call what you described as society candy, this candy that we can all take and absorb, and it tastes good, but it's not very fulfilling. And in a world that basically says you need to be like this, you know, you need to judge yourself by what other people think about you, looking externally for internal satisfaction, but it just doesn't work. And that's why mental health is such an issue, and that's why drug use is completely out of control. And you know, male suicide is the number one cause of death in young people, because the way we're living our life. But and if you want to question that, then you've got to pay the price of looking at what you're doing and maybe thinking, how fulfilled am I really? How do I really feel about myself? And how do I want to feel? You know, that's why we often need a coach, because a coach will often ask those deep philosophical questions that make you go inside and make you go, oh,
yeah,
oh dear.
Force you to look inwards and not just always trying to take. And that was a lovely phraseology, you know, society candy. It's like, all right, well, how much bad stuff, like in your nutrition or whatever, can you eat before you feel the effects and the bad effects? And with that in mind, Pete, you're talking a lot about, you know, some great wisdom and great lessons, and it's all, you know, it's all about elevating ourselves to our higher potential and our higher selves. You did touch on it earlier, but I'd be interested to really understand what your thoughts are on, you know, you said something, to paraphrase, something about, oh, we're not, you know, there's more than this existence, you know, there's something afterwards. You know, you can get into it as deep as you want, but, you know, what do you think it is that is really taking us, like people like you and me, who wanting to really elevate ourselves to our best, but also almost what's the point? What's there after this? Do we just go, or is there something else?
Well, it's not something that I often talk about, but I'm more than happy to talk about it. You know, in all religions, you seem to see many common themes, many common stories. And one of the stories that seems to be, that goes through lots of religions, is once upon a time, we were just a beam of light, and we were like a star, and we could see the life, all these different lives that we could choose. And for some reason, you saw this life, and you saw the many trials and tribulations that you were going to experience, and you decided to choose the life that you then came into. And once you came into that life, you completely forgot everything that was going to transpire, which is a great way of living your life, by the way, even if you don't believe it, because something might happen to you and you think, okay, well, this is meant to happen. What can I learn from this? You know, how can I grow from this? And I just believe that. I believe I chose this life, you know, and if I chose it, I might as well look to make the most of it. And I want to be able to come to the end of my life. And this is what Dr. Stephen Covey talks about in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is begin with the end in mind. You know, when the end of your life happens, what do you want the living legacy of your life to be? How many people do you want to have touched? I heard this recently, that you are alive until the very last person on this earth has been touched by you. So let's say I touch your life and you touch someone else's life, and I don't even know that person, but they were touched because you were touched, and that goes on and on and on and on. Well, that could go on forever, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we had an imprint on someone's life who had an imprint on somebody else's life. And that's what I think we all want. Awesome. We want to be remembered. We want to leave a mark. Again, I might be wrong, but all I can talk about is my life and what matters to me, and what seems to matter to so many people. People want to do good. People want to leave a mark.
Yeah. And we're more inherently wanting to do good than we are bad. So therefore, as you say, it's almost this endless cycle of connection. You can touch me and I can touch someone else and so on ad infinitum. And, people are going to really resonate with that. And if you can touch a million people's lives and, I do the same, then that's going to really compound. It's amazing to see that. And the way you look at that, yeah, with the analogy of religion as well is powerful because, depending, it doesn't matter what you believe, but as you say, it's that striving to be the best. So I'm really
and the way that your life, I don't know where your parents were from. My parents were from here. My great grandparents were born here. No, my great grandparents were born in Lithuania. My great granddad came here when he was 11 years old with nothing. He came here for me. He didn't know me, but he came here to build a better life for me. He gave me that life. And now it's my turn to do the same thing. It's to pay it forwards, because without that, the world is, like I said right at the beginning, is doomed unless we all realize, okay, how can I help you? What is it that you need from me? And that's why the world is still here today, that there are people out there like you and me, and we need to do that more than ever for the younger generation who, like you said, are more disconnected, are more bought into the society candy, more bought into technology, less bought into nature and the power of making a difference, the power of love, the power of living well.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. And with that in mind, Pete, I'd love to hear about, because I know you want to make great impacts. You already have, but I know, as you said, there's always more. What are your goals for the next 1, 3, and 5 years? Could be both business and or personal.
Well, 1, 3, and 5 years. I mean, for me, there's the big three, right? There's the big three in terms of goals. And the first is about health and, energy, well-being. The second is about family and friends. And the third is my work and my service. So from my work and my service, my goal is to continue to build what I believe to be the number one coaching opportunity in the world that we have created, called My 365, where, we're coaching people every day through Facebook Live, through a series of masterclasses, through having a community where we're teaching people about things like willpower, confidence, self-esteem. And we're teaching people how to start something, apply it, and graduate from it. So I'm very excited about that. It's the accumulation of many, 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 many years of work and continual work. With my family, my wife is quite a bit younger than me. So, our goal is actually to have a family, which wasn't looking very likely a few years ago, because, as I said, she wasn't given very long to live. And with my health, I have some challenges I've had recently with my elbow and my back, my hip, but I'm still fired up to be as healthy and as well as I possibly be. And how can I get this to work better? And how can I be more of an example to people? So, where I want to be in 5 years is probably where I want to be in a year. But in 5 years, I just want more of everything, more health, more well-being, more secure, more finance. I don't have an issue with money. It's like green vegetables. You can never have enough. I think money is a great way of, you can do great things with money, but also it's a great sign of self-worth, I think. But that's me. What about you?
Wow, no, that's fascinating. And gosh, what about me? Yeah, I would say very similar. I also like how you broke down into those 3 categories, because I think it really covers and encapsulates everything that we need to strive for and should strive for. Yeah, I would say, gosh, for me, I mean, my goal is the big goal, and I guess then I reverse engineer from that, is to impact and transform the lives of over 1 million men in the next 10 years. But then part of me says I'm maybe thinking a bit small, maybe I can do more than that. And I guess this is where, maybe the help or the discussion with someone like yourself could challenge that. So that's the overarching goal. And then I guess reverse engineering that is the medium. So for me, it would be mostly through our martial arts schools. I want to get this one set up to 100 students within the next 3 months, and then build our own facility, our headquarters, and then, really branch out from there, move on, and then build, one location, then another, and eventually take that worldwide. But I think what I really want to do is, there's no point just opening up another martial arts school, because there's hundreds and there's plenty. But I think I was saying to you before, the big thing I want to differentiate is that martial arts has lost its essence. And you talked here about Bruce Lee and the lessons he taught and people like that. You know, he was the epitome of what martial arts was about, and really about why he was so iconic is because he brought the actual art side and the martial side and married them together without forgetting one half. And people nowadays in the martial arts community as a whole, especially in the West, has severed the arts from the martial side and forgotten about the philosophical foundations. So I want to bring that back, but in a modern context, which can therefore apply to people similarly to as you are, Pete, is with their health, well-being, obviously philosophy and mindset, but also their business and their path. So it's not just about, you know, the martial arts in the strict sense, it's the bigger picture.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I traveled in China, and one of the things we did, always went to the parks in the morning, and I did my form, but from my understanding of the way, like you said, the way martial arts are taught in the West is they very rarely teach about the chi first, about the energy first, becoming aware of that first, because what they seem to do is get lost in the form, in the actual technique, as opposed to no, what is driving it? And this is something else I heard recently about think of a light bulb as a human being. Are you the bulb or are you the light inside the bulb? And the guy I was listening to said, no, you are both, you know, but what makes the bulb come alive is your energy, your chi. And that to me is what all martial arts should be about first and foremost, the energy that exists outside of you, how you can use that to, and that's what Bruce Lee was brilliant at. If people think the 1-inch punch was just something that, he just knew how to use energy, and the greatest martial. Have you ever come across a guy called Chris Cudelli?
Yes, yeah. Mind-body kick-ass moves, right?
Yeah, so I met him, right? This is the weirdest thing. I watched his series of mind-body kick-ass moves, and I met him on a train, and I went, all right, Chris. And he looked at me to say, who the hell are you? And I became friends with him, and I went out with him for dinner a few times. And he used to train in Temple Fortune. He's from Birmingham, but he used to train in Temple Fortune, where I grew up, in a martial arts studio above a pub. Yeah. But he actually came to meet my coach when he was alive, and it was fascinating. He asked my coach what he thought the best martial arts that he ever became. Best martial artists, and my coach said the Filipino stick fighters, and there was a type of karate that he came across that was just I don't know. I think that so much is possible, but the hardest thing to often do is just to get started in anything, in business. But if you're someone who's looking to get help from me or from you, I think where we can add that value to people is to help them get started, to help them get momentum to the point where what they do is just what they do. It's not hard work, like, oh, how do I do this? It becomes a part of you.
Yeah, and it's so natural for them at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. And Pete, I want to hear, please share more about My 365 as well. You said you're aiming to build the best coaching experience and platform there is. What is it that's different about it? And, what can people really take away from it?
Well, it's different in terms of, it's more about the mind. So I used to be a teacher, right? And I really didn't like teaching in school because I just didn't think we were teaching kids stuff that was particularly useful. And I think if we all want to get ahead in life, there are certain things that if we can get fairly good at them, it really gives us a chance. So willpower is the science of self-control, getting yourself to do the things that you need to do even when you don't feel like it. Mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness has been proven to aid people in so many different areas. Creativity, breaking habits. So these are all key areas that we teach, and we spend a whole month focusing on these different areas. And it's so ridiculously available to people, but it still requires a sacrifice of someone going to work on themselves. And I would encourage people just to go and look at what we're doing. If they literally just go to mi365elite.me mi/join. I'll just say that again. mi365elite.me/join. They can just see, what we're offering. And, it might be something that people want to spend a period of time on, just learning, but much more than just learning, applying. The application of knowledge is what is needed, because otherwise you can know a lot of stuff, but so what? Yeah. What are you doing with what you know? So,
wow.
I look forward to sharing this podcast myself and sharing you with the world, because I'm sure that anyone that gets a chance to work with you is really onto a good thing, building a big community of people and inspiring people every step of the way.
I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. I'm going to be looking at Mi365 myself, let alone others, and I know people definitely listen to this will do. So they really should, because I think those things you're offering, they are different, and with your experience, you're really demonstrating that. Look at me, look, it's possible. You can have all of this and more if you want it, if you're willing to learn. And as you say,
and the thing is, with the sort of stuff I'm sharing, it is perfect actually for already people that are in the coaching world. Because I'm only going to share with you what I've spent years and years putting together, deciphering all of the nonsense and keeping the good stuff, and sharing that with people like you, who will then maybe apply some of that to yourself and then to others. So
yeah,
I wish you every loads and loads and loads of success and happiness, and I'm sure our paths will cross again.
No, I know they will. I'm sure they will. And yeah, I'll definitely take that in mind. I'm just conscious of time, Pete. How are you doing for time? I just wanted to ask you a couple more, but if you've got to shoot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've just got to speak to my mum, but apart from that, it's all good.
Your mum comes first. Love it. That's cool. So we'll try and move on to these more signature questions, the last few bits. But
yeah,
you mentioned earlier, obviously you're a big man of great habits, Pete. But one of them you mentioned was up at 4 every day, which is amazing. But please share, whether it be that one and or more, a few personal habits or daily routines that contribute to your success and why they contribute to it.
So I get up at 4, and some days I think, what are you doing? And then I hear another voice in my head saying, I know exactly what I'm doing. Let's do what we need to do. Let's go and change the world. I come downstairs. I have a journal. I write in my journal. I write down what I'm grateful for. I write down my success list for the day, as in terms of what is it that needs to be done. I then draw something similar, not as colorful as what you see behind you, but just draw where I am. I draw it like a mountain, where I'm going by the year 2040. I then drink a cup of coffee, but not just any normal coffee. I drink coffee that's infused with an ancient Chinese mushroom that just goes to my brain and gets oxygen to my brain. I then start to read or listen and make notes about something. I just want to learn. I want to grow. I want to teach. Then I will meditate for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I'll exercise before I do my live broadcast at 7, and sometimes I'll do that straight afterwards. After that, I have a break. I make my wife a coffee actually before that. After that, I have a break for a little bit. Then I'll probably do another 90 minutes of work. And then I'll have a break. And this time of the day, we're recording this in the afternoon. This is normally not a great time for me.
Really?
Well, this is what a lot of people don't know this. The siesta was not invented by the Spanish. The siesta was invented by the Romans. And the siesta comes from the number 6, the 6th hour. So after the 6th hour of being awake, we should all be looking to reset our circadian rhythm of our body, where we rest. And obviously the Spanish took that idea, and the siesta became something that was very important. So for most people, this is a time of the day where we should be resting, taxing our brain, and then maybe ready to go again for a few more hours before bed. So yeah, I'm rituals are kind of against my nature, if you like, because my nature is very just go. Don't be too structured. But I realize I have to be structured, because otherwise I'll never really get much done.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, no, that's powerful. And I completely agree. I'm kind of like that as well. A bit like, just a bit, not almost erratic, but it has to be a little bit controlled, because I feel like if I don't have that structural routine, I don't get as you say, anywhere near as much done as possible. And I love the Spanish and the Roman story around the siesta. And it sounds like clearly you're scheduling your day around your biology and your circadian rhythms, which is super important because obviously that allows you to perform at your optimal.
Yes.
So is that why you get up so early as well? Or is there something else about why you
I get up at 4 because I just undisturbed and I just get stuff done. And if I was doing that at 9 o'clock, it wouldn't happen. It's just, I just get too distracted.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't blame you. No, that's really cool. I'm really with you. What has been your best success to date, Pete, and why?
My best success is definitely being on this journey with my wife. I actually made a film about what happened to her because the doctor who was treating her in America was being taken to court. And there were so many obstacles on that journey. It's on a website called teamhannah.com. Apart from that, building online communities is something I love to do. Working with Ronnie O'Sullivan for 2 years, where he won the world title for the second time. That was also something I was extremely proud of, and it was an incredible journey. But there's so much more to come.
Yeah,
there's so much more to come.
Yeah, I can tell it's just the start. And I'll add that link. I'm going to watch that myself, actually, to your wife's story and about the doctor in the show notes. But yeah. As you say, it's just the start, because some people I can imagine get to a stage like yourself where you're at, well, I've done all right. I've done enough. And
no chance.
Nah, we're not stopping yet.
No way.
Love it. Pete, can you tell us a story of a time in your journey when you experienced failure and share with us what you learned from it?
Time where I experienced failure. Yeah, I mean, history has a pattern of repeating itself. So the first book I wrote was called Slimming with Pete, and I approached all the publishers, and they all said no, and I almost gave up. But as a last resort, I tried a small publisher in Wales, and they published this book, and then my publishing career took off. One of my favorite stories is a story in Think and Grow Rich called 3 Feet from Gold, where, a guy found gold, stopped, couldn't find any more, carried on digging, then stopped, sold the equipment to someone else. And the person who bought the equipment thought, maybe there's a bit more gold. Went back down, and 3 feet from where they'd stopped, he found the biggest vein of gold ever. And we are always 3 feet from gold. So, that's why when you say about your biggest failure, I don't believe in failure. I just believe in, okay, now what? Now what am I going to do? Yeah. And again, it sounds like a cliche, but I love to fail because it lights something inside of me. I go, okay, now what needs to be done?
Mm-hmm. And now what you're really saying is, failure happens, but I guess it's what you take away from it and what you learn from it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it does sound cliche, but I'm the same, never used to be, but I feel like, hey, I want to fail quicker and faster and harder than before, because I know next time I'm not necessarily going to make that mistake again, or at least I'm going to learn something from it, which will allow me to be better next time.
Definitely.
So awesome. In recent times, Pete, what development, either in your area of expertise or in general in the health, well-being, philosophy, martial arts, or business world, has excited you the most, and why?
Definitely this whole psychological reactance, helping people become more aware of that, of the reactance to anything that even people telling themselves they should do something, and then supporting them in that journey of getting them to look at things differently. Because people don't change, as I said, when you tell them what to do, even when they tell themselves what to do. So getting people to change the way their biology, their brain is working is so powerful. And it's an amazing journey to go on with people where you help them transform their life by transforming their thinking.
Yeah, it all starts in there.
It certainly does.
Awesome. So I know you've got a great background, as you shared, in the health and well-being industry. And I'm curious, Pete, to understand what your thoughts are on it.
Well, I mean, I worked in the industry. I started in 1989 as a fitness instructor, aerobics teacher, personal trainer. In the gym I worked at, you had to engage with clients. fact, I recently got in trouble with a big gym chain. I took a photograph of a personal trainer sitting on his phone talking to someone, and I sent it to a friend of mine.
Was he doing that in a session though?
Yeah. And I sent it to a friend of mine, and he posted the picture on a Facebook page, and a private Facebook page, and someone knew this person, and this message got back to the gym. Then the gym looked at the picture, looked on the CCTV camera, worked out when it was, and saw it was me. And
Wow.
and they said they wanted to sit down and talk to me and blah blah blah. I could have gone on about, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have taken the photograph. But my colleagues said, well, why didn't you tell them about the terrible personal training that was going on? I said, in that gym is some of the worst personal training I've ever seen in my entire life. But if I told them about it, they wouldn't want to know. And I think that that's a big part of the industry that most people don't want to know. The fact that people aren't achieving what they want to achieve. We just need to help people be inspired about what they do so that they would then carry on doing it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, I completely agree. And I think like 99% in the industry is a joke because, as you say, that is actually quite common. And even if it's not that level of on your phone and not, almost giving a shit, it's really more about, well, actually, are you changing people? Or are you just running them through a workout to make them, sweaty? And, what's the point of that? What about their structure, their posture, their breathing, their thinking? And, there's much more to it. So hence why, what you're doing is bridging that gap, which is great. And
yes,
Pete, what issues do you see that men should be thinking about?
Well, that's it. I mean, thinking and talking, men, we don't tend to like asking for help. That's the first thing. We see that as a sign of weakness. And just acknowledging that we are more than what we feel. Most people think they are what they feel. No, you are whatever you choose to feel. And go on a journey of self-discovery. Go on a journey of getting to know yourself, getting to know what you're really about. Never take yourself too seriously. And surround yourself with like-minded people who maybe inspire you. And become this whole term of manning up, which I want a new way of looking at that expression, not manning up and not talking about your emotions and going out and drinking a shed load of beer. No, go out there and talk and be a great example to other men.
Yeah, completely. And especially with the epidemic levels of, as you mentioned earlier, male suicide. It's, if you're not talking, it's going to get pent up and hence it's going to result in things like that.
Well, someone I heard once say that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I think some of these problems would be temporary if people were able to communicate how we tend to feel better when we vocalize what we're thinking and feeling, but people are often frightened to do that because they maybe feel they haven't got any control over it or be worried about what people say. But yeah, that would be my way. Be a proper man.
Yeah, to be a real man. Yeah, no, great advice. Just want to wrap up on some signature questions, Pete. These are a bit more quick fire. I just want you to answer sort of first thing that comes to your mind and almost keep them concise to what you really feel is coming out of you. Yeah. So the first one is, what advice would you give to the young boys who are venturing into manhood?
Put a smile on your face and take some time to think about and work out what is it that you're really here to do. When do you most feel alive? And go out there and create an unbelievable life, a life that you could look back one day and say, I did that.
Yeah, I'm proud of that. Awesome. Good. Second one is, what keeps you awake at night, if anything?
A few things. Sometimes fear, but not very often. More about just getting excited about what I'm doing and what's going to come next and trying to slow myself down because I get way too excited.
I had that recently as well. You just want to go at 100 miles an hour all day, but it can't be. Yeah. Let's say we're having another conversation a couple of years from now. What would you have accomplished in that time?
Well, I'd be more interested in what you've accomplished. I would be more interested in what happened as a direct result of this conversation I had with you. That's what I'd want to be talking about first and foremost. Excuse me. What was the legacy of this conversation? Where would I be in 2 years' time? Well, apart from having that conversation with you, having that conversation with a lot more people. The same thing. What's been the legacy of the time that we spent together? What's happened as a consequence of it?
I love that. No, I guess I'll reciprocate an answer, and I would effectively say the same. Yeah, I would be, if my goal was to transform over 1 million, let's call it 1 million men's lives in the next 10 years. In 2 years, I would have been at the very least a fifth of the way there. So, I would have been at that 200,000 mark, and we're building, and not just that, we're growing, we're impacting even more. So
well, I'm inspired by you, so I'm going to go and inspire other people. So I think you should be aiming much bigger than 1 million, because I'm going to impact 100 million. So, and if you've impacted me, then you're impacting 100 million people. So, but it's just I suppose, a different way of looking at it, right?
But it's true, but it's mad, and it's inspiring, because I sit there now and think, I was thinking even before this in general, actually that goal is too small. But now you've really highlighted that. Yeah, you're right. Like, what the hell are you doing? You've got, and then you're not just saying that because it's like, well, hold on, I know I've got more potential than that. And if you're going to hit 100 million, I don't see why I can't do that too. And
I think you should do a billion.
Yeah, well, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah. Why not a billion?
We're here. We might as well try. Otherwise, what's the point? And I think that can really happen. So, okay, we'll hold each other to it and help each other to get there.
Fantastic.
If you had the power to change one thing in the world, what would it be?
Oh, the power to change one thing. I'd say myself, but I already have that power. So, oh dear, if I had the power to change one thing, I would change that everyone can see the good in themselves.
Nice. I love that. Cool. And these last few questions, you've almost touched on them earlier, and you may have a clue where I've almost got them from. But this one is, you're about to compose your own epitaph or obituary. What would it say?
Let's get started. Or I've only just got started.
Yeah, I love it.
That's what it would say.
I love that.
Or let's do it. Just probably let's do it, even though I'm not here, because I'd want everyone else to carry on and let's do it.
Because people would be carrying on your vision.
Definitely.
Love it.
Definitely.
How would you, your life, and your impact be described by others at your own funeral?
Ridiculous. Just ridiculous. They say that was ridiculous. Or they'll say that was fun. Or that was inspiring. I mean, inspiration is a key word to me, meaning breathing life into everything that you do. So he was inspirational.
Yeah, and you are living and breathing that. Love it. Last question, Pete, is why do you think we exist? That is, why are we here?
Well, the New Zealand rugby team are the best team in history because of one thing. And it's all about leaving the team in a better shape than you came into the team with. And I think, that's what we're here to do. We're here to make the world a better place. Whether that's true or not for others, it's definitely true for me. And it is challenging, but that's what I think I am here to do, to leave the world in a better place than when I first came here.
Yeah, and it's well worth it. And I've heard that story as well. I don't know if you've read the book Legacy. I think it's James.
Legacy.
Yeah,
Legacy. You can see it over there.
Oh, nice. Love it. So, Pete, before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to mention? And feel free to please plug any your.
Yeah, I would just encourage people to go and see what we're doing, even out of their own curiosity of how we market what we do and what we're having to say to people. Just go to mi365elite.me/join and just see what we're doing with people. And I would encourage everyone to follow their dreams and to follow you, actually, to stay close to what you're doing, because only good things are going to happen, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And likewise. And thank you. I will share those notes in the show description for anyone who wants it. I've already checked out and I can highly advise it. Definitely go and check out Mi365. Pete and everyone there. The team has so much to offer. And just to close up, Pete, I just want to thank you so much for spending your time with us. I really appreciate you sharing your journey, your wisdom and experience with us. It's been life-changing for me, and I know it will be for those who listen too.
Thank you.
Brilliant. I'm Aidan Lee, and this is the FitRoots podcast. Thank you for helping us on our mission to build modern warriors.